there are things that will happen, like if you leave your MetaMask unlocked and your computer goes idle. If you have these scripts installed, what will happen is that it will just start draining your wallet, like it will auto-sign those transactions. So there's a lot of different attack vectors. I mean, it's wild how inventive people are. I feel like trying to keep people safe from scammers, it's like building a sandcastle to stop the tide, but it's a fight worth fighting.
Hello everyone, what's up? Another episode of Send It. What's up, Waj? How are you, man?
I'm doing well, thank you. How are you?
I'm good. I'm actually very excited about this one. Going to be a bit different from our previous episodes, to be honest. First time that instead of having a DeFi protocol, we have a DeFi wallet, a crypto wallet. So it's kind of interesting. And to be honest, it's the wallet that I've wanted to talk to I think the most, and for quite a long time, because I've always perceived it as like a very, luxurious and advanced piece of equipment that I found out about like pretty much in the early days of being in crypto, but it always seemed like, oh my God, look at that piece of hardware over there. And I'm talking about, for those of you who still don't know, I'm talking about Grid Plus, the company behind the wallet itself, Lattice One. And we are lucky to be on here today with the CEO and founder of Grid Plus, Justin. How are you, man?
I'm doing well. Thanks so much for having me on. It was a very kind intro as well. Yeah, so I'm Justin LaRue. I'm the CEO of Grid Plus. I'm based out of Boston in the Northeast US. And yeah, what we are as a company, we're focused on how people are signing today. So the inception of Grid Plus was that we were all Ethereum users, and we found that with the hardware that was out there, we couldn't do a lot of the things we wanted or actually see what we were signing. So we sort of built around what we desired to get out of a hardware wallet, and we tried to focus on active signing, which was really different because at that time, we started, the genesis of this idea was 2017, 2018. Smart contract chains, Ethereum, were profoundly uncool. The BTC maxis were running laps on us on Twitter. And so that the idea of focusing on smart contract chain signing seemed a little crazy, but I think we were exactly on the right path. And I'd love to talk more about that. Yeah.
So basically you're saying that when you designed the Lattice One wallet, by the way, Lattice One was the first model created by you guys?
Correct. So this was our first product. We launched it at the very end of 2020. And so our flagship product is the Lattice One hardware wallet. And also it goes with safeguards, which I'll get to in a little bit. Yeah. For sure.
What I was going to ask is this actually like a wallet that was, from what you just said, was it pre-designed to be used by mostly like Ethereum users who are signing transactions? Like, was that like the main point when you guys thought about it?
Yeah, that was the impetus behind it, is that the things we started doing on chain, at the time, the earliest stages of DeFi, we were just interacting with, MakerDAO and a limited number of things, but we are active users. We're signing. The idea of the original cold storage wallets was explicitly that, just key storage, really, where you buy Bitcoin on an exchange or Litecoin, you send it, you don't touch it, but you know that you have self-custody and that your keys are safe, which is great. But with the advent of Ethereum and its rise, people started signing actively all the time. And, so now today, the average person could be signing all day long, whether you're a DeFi degen or you're curating an NFT collection, or even, for identity, which I think is going to be even bigger with private keys. AI is going to make that more and more important when we have to ensure the provenance of something. So I think private key cryptography is the answer for that. So yeah, it was all about active use, staying safe while actively using crypto instead of just, burying your hardware wallet in your backyard.
Was it something that you like in a way said, okay, we need to build something better to be able to use it ourselves?
That's exactly it. So, earliest days of Ethereum, my introduction to crypto was Bitcoin. Some people like to give themselves really cool crypto origin stories. Mine's not that cool. I used to, don't listen FBI. I used to pirate a lot of music on BitTorrent, right? And so you wanted to donate for server bills. And the only way to do that was Bitcoin. So I'd read a little bit about Bitcoin before. This is probably like 2014, 2015. And then I started buying it because I was donating it. I don't want to think about how big those donations are today, but that started the process. I think most of us go through. You started at the time. Bitcoin Talk was big, so I started reading Bitcoin Talk, and then Reddit, and then it starts slowly taking over my life till we get to today, where this is just what I do 24/7. I love it though. So that's how I got involved in crypto, and then I was an early Ethereum user. At the very beginning, coming from that Bitcoin perspective, I didn't quite get it. So like my first thing I downloaded was the Mist wallet, which is this early thing from the Ethereum Foundation. And it looked like a web browser. So I was like, what the hell does this have to do with crypto? What can I even do with this? And then there's really simple things online. There was like Gavcoin for Gavin, one of the Ethereum co-founders. There was like Beercoin from Nick Johnson. There was like a block timer. So I started just poking, but right from the very beginning. And then as I got really fired up about Ethereum, thinking about all the future use cases, so much of which has already come to fruition in a wild way. I realized that we couldn't actually be using an Ethereum in a meaningful way with the tools we had at the time. So the thought was behind this, we wanted to make a more flexible, powerful device for active use, and I think that really drove it, because we started thinking about crypto not just in terms of value transfer, but in all the things that smart contract chains enable.
Was it originally meant to be a wallet that works with a browser wallet, or a wallet that works independently?
So we actually wanted to be the plug-in security layer for the tools that people already use. We were actually born out of Consensus. We were the first company to be incubated by it and spin out. So our first major partner was MetaMask. We're very lucky. We work closely with them. We share Slack channels for engineering and customer support. But
what
so
year
we wanted
is that,
to
by the
be.
way?
When we first integrated with MetaMask, I think was beginning of 2021.
And that's like your pretty much your early era, right?
That was our earlier era. In pre-release, and we were testing, we maintained a fork of MetaMask. And I basically, despite the Consensus connection, I basically had to harass them for over a year to make sure we got our foot in the door. Talking about early Ethereum stuff, there used to be this thing called micro sponsors. So you could buy someone's individual coin and then book time with them for a meeting. And so Dan Finley, one of the founders of MetaMask, I bought up all the Dan coin supply. And I wouldn't leave him alone. I kept booking time, and he was very gracious, and that actually got things going. But that persistence was useful. MetaMask was huge for us. Go ahead. Sorry.
Persistency is so important in any kind of business, especially this, and for sure for a CEO. So I think good job since back then already, Howard.
Yeah, definitely. Justin, I'd like to talk about the product itself. What actually is the Lattice? How did someone even use it?
So the Lattice One, the first thing people are going to notice is that it looks really different. It's a desktop device. It's got a card reader on the side, and people are really used to the Bitcoin wallet format, sort of like a USB thumbstick. That's what they've been used to. But why did the Bitcoin wallets look that way? Well, the two things you get out of hardware wallets are the secure key storage and secure signing. And the Bitcoin wallets had these little screens because all you had to verify with secure signing was that you had the correct recipient address. You were sure that you were experiencing a man-in-the-middle attack or signing something you didn't intend to. So you could verify what you see on the computer and what you see on the hardware wallet. So our device is a desktop device with a card reader and a big screen because you want to be able to verify what you see in MetaMask or Rabby or Frame, whatever you're using, and see that it matches at a glance to what you're actually signing to make sure that you're safe. Because there's, crypto, they're bearer assets. It's the ultimate honeypot, and there's always new and creative ways people are trying to screw you over.
Unfortunately,
yeah, it's never ending. But so what makes the Lattice different is it's a big touchscreen device, and it has also the ability to manage an unlimited number of seeds on one device. meaning that every wallet I've spun up, I can pair addresses from each seed phrase with MetaMask or whatever other tool I'm using, and actively sign with those when I want to. The other thing we really wanted to tackle was easy, secure backups. People do really crazy things with how they back up their seed phrase, not always with great results. So what we do instead is we have safeguards. They look exactly like a credit card. They use the same kind of chips that are extremely battle tested in the global financial system. And what those do, they store additional sets of private keys and an encrypted copy of your seed phrase. So that way you can back up to a card, you can insert a card and switch the private keys you're actually signing with. And it makes backing up and restoring accounts easy, and you don't have to have your seed phrase written down on a piece of paper that anyone can take a photo of or backed up online in an iffy way. So that was really key. So the main things that make us different is seeing what you're signing, the easy, secure backups, and then we really went over the top with the physical security because we were designing around a world in which crypto had experienced mass adoption, and these tools would be used for critical use cases, even by governments and large institutions for custody of things like CBDCs and user assets. So we actually have what's called an LDS laser direct structuring anti-tamper mesh in it. And it's basically got like a tripwire in the device. So this LDS mesh is like, it surrounds everything in the secure enclave and the connections to the screen, which is drawn by the secure part of the device. And it's this 3D maze of electrical traces with a waveform running through it all the time. Should that actually, that waveform be altered or shorted, it will actually erase everything. So it's like a self-destruct mechanism. So that means the design constraints we were looking for were basically if a very sophisticated party had taken physical possession of your device, they would not be able to access your private keys. So physical security, signing, and backups. And it looks, like a lot of different complicated things coming together, but when you actually use it, it's pretty intuitive with smart contracts. And I sign every day, in that same way I was talking about dog fooding, early things that were being launched on Ethereum because there wasn't much else to do. I just try and sign everything today. For every chain, I have 20, 30 wallet extensions installed for all different chains and for EVM chains. And then I do things like I go through, just to make sure I know what customers are seeing, I go through all these airdrop hunter sites, even if it's not for a meaningful amount. And I just try every protocol. I sign everything. And I see where there's pain points or things we can do better. So, being an active user of my own product and talking to users directly is really what is shaping this. So yeah, the Lattice is the core, it's the flagship. We know people are clamoring for a mobile device. So Grid Plus as a company is not just one product, it's the tech stack. So we'll be working to deliver that later next year. And we're really excited about that. Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. A lot of features there. I'd love to dig into maybe just a couple of those features in a little bit more detail and kind of explore those. One of the things that you first mentioned was the idea of the screen and how these previous hardware wallets or previous generation hardware wallets often have a small screen. They're like a USB device. And kind of how that was perfect for Bitcoin transfers. But when you've got the complexities of being on chain now, having a bigger screen where you can actually see what you're signing is really important. What actually can users see on the screen that's different? And how does this help them when they're navigating the on-chain space?
So being able to read what you're signing, it isn't just a good user experience. It's also really important for security. That's why things like ENS are great too. You can see that you're at the right name. So we have a few things that we do. We decode the transactions so that they look close to what you're going to see in your software extension. It's still, we know that users have to rely on exactly what we see on the screen. So it still looks a little technical if you don't know what gas is or some other things. But generally, you'll see each of the variables decoded. So you can see what you're signing. Are you transferring money? Are you doing a permission? If so, for how much? Also, we do account labeling, which seems like a convenience thing, but I think is also really important for security as well. For example, you can import a list of all of your Etherscan tags that you've built up over the years, via CSV. And what that does is, if you are sending to the wrong address, you will know at a glance because you won't see the right name pop up. You'll see a hex string. There's a lot of reasons why that's important. is like a new popular trend with scammers is what's called an address poisoning attack. So they know that people rely on Etherscan and other block explorers. So when they look at high value accounts and then they generate a vanity address that has like the same beginning and ending characters or something close to the right address, and then they do these like trivial transfers back and forth to that account. And what happens is people go into Etherscan and they cut and paste thinking it's like their own address and they send to an attacker's account. And that sounds really convoluted, but it actually has impacted a lot of people. So address labeling, ENS, being able to see that is really important. Also, we were the first company to adopt most of the new Ethereum signing standards over the past few years. One was called EIP 712, and that's for plain text readable messages. So that's like when you sign into OpenSea and you get a little paragraph. That same paragraph will pop up on your device. You'll see exactly what that is. So yeah, that's what's really important about seeing what you're signing, because that double check, there's no product that you can buy that is like a silver bullet to just keep you secure in crypto. Users have to be, keeping an eye on things and making it easy for people to see if something's wrong at a glance, gets them to stop, ask a question, see if they're in the right spot, if they're on the right website. So that's a really key part of it. Visually seeing what you're signing is essential.
And what do you think users are like making mistakes on today, like when it comes to signing? Like I still see even today, like a lot of people getting exploited via their wallets today. Like, is there like a specific trend that you're noticing, or is it just like a variety of these sophisticated attacks from these exploiters?
The things that I see, first and foremost, social engineering attempts are big, and that means anything people do to coerce you into doing something you don't intend to. A lot of times that's like malicious front ends, like a website that, is one character off from the site you intend to go to, and it's a fake front end. And when you go to sign with your favorite DeFi protocol, it will look, like you're interacting with it, but you're signing something else completely different. So there's a lot of different things. You see the scams constantly online. A big one recently is airdrop scams, where people will airdrop you tokens or NFTs. And you're like, oh, hey, awesome, I got this NFT. Thankfully, OpenSea usually hides most of these. And if you try to transfer them or interact with them, they're going to try and get you to sign a malicious contract that will give that contract permissions, and it can lead to a wallet drainer. So wallet drainers are a big one. Malware is a big one, because most people today still use hot wallets. What you will see sometimes, like we've talked to users after an incident, usually people get a hardware wallet, unfortunately, after something bad happens. But we found like an extension for the browser called like Grease Monkey that runs scripts. So like there are things that will happen, like if you leave your MetaMask unlocked and your computer goes idle, if you have these scripts installed, what will happen is that it will just start draining your wallet, like it will auto sign those transactions. So there's a lot of different attack vectors. I mean, it's wild how inventive people are. I feel like trying to keep people safe from scammers, it's like building a sandcastle to stop the tide, but it's a fight worth fighting.
People are creative, that's for sure.
Yeah. So
I
we've
guess
got
it's
to
like
be nimble and keep responding to it, all the creative ways people come up with to screw each other over.
I guess it does show that security is improving, though, because like these attackers are having to get more and more sophisticated to try and do what they need to do, whereas beforehand it probably wasn't like that.
Also, maybe slowly, and at least in some periods, mostly in the bear periods, I think, like the audience is becoming more and more experienced, like there's more awareness about the stuff that you can or can't do, but still, I think that we're very far away than having like actual consumer awareness that can provide like a meaningful protective layer against the renewing threats within the market. So, for example, Justin, what kind of protection and how does the Lattice One provide for its users on the different like aspects that you've described?
Well, the first critical thing with any hardware wallet is getting your keys off of your general purpose device, your phone or your computer. There isn't really an easy path. Everyone always asks me, they're like, aren't we all just going to use mobile wallets in the future? It's tricky because with a general purpose device, you can't fully rely on what you're seeing. there's just too many ways to impact or manipulate what a user's actions are. So a hardware wallet acts as sort of that formal, final source of truth to verify that your computer or phone is not compromised. So that's really critical. Just getting your keys off of those general purpose devices prevents against a lot of things like those browser extension scripts that I talked about, or anything automated like that. And then the second part of it is the secure signing. So there was an incident a few years ago that was really highly publicized. The founder of Nexus Mutual had interacted with one of his own contracts, and he had signed it with MetaMask and then with his ledger. And he was a very diligent, sharp guy, and he saw that on his ledger it was the right contract address. What he didn't know was, because he couldn't read that blob of hex data that came after that. Everyone just kind of clicks through where they blind sign, the YOLO sign. He actually transferred away about $8 million of NXM. And what happened was he had a compromised version of MetaMask installed. He actually posted the code, and there's a lot of postmortems on this. So I don't remember how exactly he installed it, but what it did was display a transaction that was different than what he was actually signing on the computer. And because he didn't verify on the screen of his hardware wallet, he didn't realize he was transferring away all his tokens. So being able to see that is something special we do for DeFi. And I think everybody's getting better on this front, but that's always been our focus.
Yeah. Was there any way for him to catch that? Like you said that he used the MetaMask with a ledger. Like, is there like a theoretical way that he would have seen it on his ledger?
In that circumstance, no, because at the time, Ledger is getting a lot better with how messages are displayed with the newer devices. But what it was is that signing payload was all just hexadecimal, right? So realistically, even a very diligent person is not going to sit and compare those things. Maybe you look at the first few characters or something. So I think it was a very understandable mistake. And it shows something that the tools today have to be better, because the average user, when they buy a new product, they don't read the manual. Like, people do things in an intuitive way, and you got to make it easier for people to help keep themselves safe. And not just with hardware wallets, there's a lot of great things coming too. Like we're seeing, Rabby and MetaMask have integrated tools like these extensions like Fire or Wallet Guard. They'll warn you if you're going to interact with like a known malicious contract. So all these different layers, the software wallet's getting better, sort of this new thing of databases of like malicious contracts and things you shouldn't be doing, and giving you that warning on the computer. And then also seeing on your hardware wallet that you're signing what you intend to. All this together is making for more robust security for every user out there. So the tools need to get better. We're working on it, but it's a never-ending thing. I don't think anything today is really good enough for like that global adoption level, but things are advancing quickly.
So just to get back to the story you told a minute ago, you're actually saying that the CEO of NXM or whoever he was, when he actually, if for example he had been using a wallet like Lattice One, that would actually show on the hardware wallet itself what's he signing, and he'd check that as well, then despite the fact that his MetaMask was actually like a malicious one, he would have catch that on the screen of the Lattice One, and then be able to avoid it. Well, at that time, was there any other wallet that could have provided like such protection? To your knowledge,
we were the first ones to do what's called ABI decoding on the screen. I think other people are catching up. They're doing some really cool things. I love to see that because it raises all boats. I want to see everybody more secure, and I want to see competition between hardware wallets. But yeah, at the time, we were the only ones actually doing that. That was something that we had pushed. So we actually, when you see those transactions decoded on the screen, anything we show the user, they have to have complete certainty that it is accurate. So we pull in that information. ABIs are just basically how that blob of your transaction request, your signing request gets parsed out. So instead of showing the blob, you show the variables. Transfer, variable 2, variable 3. And so we pull in that information, and then we also verify that against a hash from another database. So we're cryptographically certain that we're decoding this the right way, and that users can rely on it. So yeah, that would have saved Hugh Karp, very smart, sophisticated individual. Nexus Mutual, if people aren't familiar with it, is a DeFi insurance protocol. And yeah, he actually became at that time like an advocate for what we're doing at Grid Plus, and they're a great team and have been really supportive of us.
Oh, that's amazing. That's amazing. Justin, would you be able to tell us about we've talked about the grid itself and Lattice One, I should say. But tell us about the cards that kind of come with the device as well.
Yeah. So when you buy a Lattice One, it has a safeguard in there. I've got stacks and stacks of these for all my wallets, usually backed up with I have my kids' stickers on them so that I can remember at a glance which one is which. So the safeguards, it seems weird to people at first, but it's a really key feature of what we're doing. And the safeguard's going to be usable with the next device as well. So yeah, it comes to the backups. The safeguards do two things. One, you can store a different set of keys on them. So they're almost like a hardware wallet in and of themselves. You basically get two hardware wallets in the box. The main device, which doesn't need the cards and stores its own seed phrase and works on its own. But then the card, you get one card as well. We sell additional packs of that. And those extend the utility of the Lattice One. Because first, you can put different keys on them, insert the card into the device, enter the PIN for the card, and now you're signing with a different set of private keys. So for me, that meant I've been doing this for a very long time and I've spun up a lot of wallets. I use like airdrop monitors. And so every wallet I've spun up, I'll get a ping on it and I'll be able to load that wallet, sign and claim. So I've gone from a whole bunch of different software and hardware wallets that I've spun up over the years to one device with the cards. And the other thing is, so they have the keys on them, but they're also great for a backup. So you can clone the cards, you can use them with safe multi-sig, which is something I do for my personal deep cold storage. And they store a copy of your seed phrase, which is encrypted. So with the newest cards, you can put them in the device, enter the PIN, and it'll warn you not to make sure no one's around, no one can see your plain text seed phrase. It'll display it on the device. So that's a really important thing. They're good for backups and for adding additional wallets to the device. So the Lattice One serves as a single signing hub for all of your wallets. And that's a really important distinguishing feature. It seems weird to people at first, but you'll see like more traditional hardware wallets usually will sell a multi-pack of their flagship. So people look at the Lattice One, they're like, oh, it's really expensive and complicated. For my use case, it's actually the most cost-effective solution because I have an unlimited number of wallets on one device. And at least with our user research we did, it was like a year and a half ago, we found that our average user had 5 wallets, like 5 seed phrases that they maintained. They had one primary one. So for those people, for me, it's the best way. It's more organized and it's easy for backups and it's more cost effective. Like I don't have to have a drawer full of devices.
Yeah. To be honest, that's a very good point because I was actually going to ask you at some point about what creates this like big price difference between like most hardware wallets, at least those that I'm familiar with, which are, by the way, at least all the ones that I know yet are portable ones, like they're mobile. You can just take them anywhere. And I was always curious about the fact that, okay, why does the Lattice One not only not portable, why does it also like cost meaningfully more? And I was always actually kind of curious about it. And I used to like assume that it's pretty much all about added layers of security, whether it's physical security or like stuff like you showed that like the basic feature of the like enabling people to know what they're signing using the screen. But the point that you're now raising about the fact that you know what, actually it serves as an instrument to use multiple wallets with the safeguards way of doing it. So it actually, that's a very good argument for the fact that, okay, if you look at it in just a 1-to-1 ratio, it may seem a bit more expensive or meaningfully more expensive. But considering the fact that indeed many users use at least 2 or 3 wallets, then you're raising a very good point, by the way. And also the safeguards themselves are for sure very much portable.
Yeah. So yeah, on the form factor, there's a couple of things. So with the cards, yeah, for me, account segregation is also something I advocate for anyone using DeFi. Most people will maybe within a single seed phrase, because that can generate unlimited wallets. They'll have maybe their ENS address and then like a trading address and a deep cold storage address. That's a really good starting point, because if you do interact with a malicious contract or sign a permission you didn't intend to, that at least will protect the assets in the other wallets. Doing that with multiple seed phrases is even a step beyond that, which I think is a bit better, because you can be assured that they're completely separate. So if your seed phrase is compromised in some way, then you'll know that the other set of assets is all set. So I think it's a really good best practice. Maybe not something for people getting started with their first crypto wallet, but we enable this for people who are deep into DeFi, and how they have their accounts set up is really important to them.
Actually. Yeah. I'm sorry. Didn't mean to.
I didn't mean to cut you off.
I was the one cutting you off, but it was mostly because I was curious to already ask the next questions in relation to what you've said. Like, who's the actual audience for it? Like you've said, like I think that most people, it probably won't be the first hardware wallet they're gonna use, simply because I think that on first purchases and new users, I think they usually tend, not all of them, but I think most of them tend to like go with the simplest and most familiar options. Like, for example, I know that that was the case for me, for example, a few years ago when I started becoming interested in crypto. It was just easier to pick either a ledger or a Trezor. Yeah, because it was everyone is knowing so much about them, and you get like so much more references to use them. And of course, I still pretty much had no idea about anything. And I also think that you guys were at a very early stage. So what I'm basically trying to get at in my usual very long, too long of a way, like, who are the actual users of the Lattice One? Like, who do you think is the exact audience that in their specific case, it's like, man, come on, upgrade yourself and take yourself to the next level of hardware wallets, with all due respect. So who are these users the way you guys at Grid Plus see them?
So we're a little surprised about where we found traction in some areas. Initially, the people that pre-ordered and were following the project, they were like really, really deep Ethereum nerds, like protocol devs, and recent years, people working on L2s. Nick Johnson from ENS was a big advocate. So we tapped into people who were like really deep into things initially. But first of all, the goal for what we're doing is to make a device for anybody who's actively signing. So sometimes people ask me, okay, my grandmother bought, X amount of crypto on Coinbase. Like, what should I get her for a hardware wallet? And I'd say, this is maybe an unpopular answer. Your grandmother's probably better off with it on Coinbase for starters. And then if people want to do something for free, most people have an old phone sitting around. So I advocate using like QR signers are basically free. You can buy pre-built ones, but Wallet Connect exists. That's a good intermediate thing for people that don't have a lot of value in crypto. But so yeah, we cater to people who are actively using the chains all the time. So maybe a little bit more oriented towards power users for now. But what I was surprised by is we launched before the first big NFT mania. And that was where we found a lot of people that were buying lattices were from the NFT community. And the reason for this was, normally when people get into crypto, they kind of start with training wheels. You start on a centralized exchange, you get familiar, you trade a little bit, then your palms sweat as you send crypto off to your self-custody wallet, your software wallet for the first time. But with the NFT people, there was no centralized tool for them to go to. And they weren't deep crypto nerds. They were people interested in the application layer and building their collections and sharing their art. So we took these people who were interested in the application layer and we threw them into the deep end of the pool without, any floaties, because they had to go right to self-custody. That was the only option. So we actually found a lot of traction from just doing like security AMAs with small NFT communities, and it clicked for people. And the other thing is that we loved going over all the very basics of crypto security, because when people are on Twitter or Reddit or wherever else, everyone wants to act like an expert, but everybody is impacted by these security issues. And so it's so good to just get people comfortable asking questions. It's actually probably one of the biggest security things is if you notice something's off, it's good to have a community, a Discord server that you're on where you trust people to give you answers, get some feedback. Now, we love to do that for our users. We have an active Discord community. So if anything looks fishy, come talk to us. But yes, we were surprised by that. But where we're going with the next device, I think it's based on what we've done with the Lattice, but we know that people are looking for a mobile format. We love what we've done with the safeguards. So that will be a key element of as well. So it's almost going to be cross-compatible with the Lattice, which we'll keep supporting. And we want eventually to go from being just for power users to being the default for anyone who's using smart contract chains. That's our aspiration.
That's cool. You know what? In a way, as I'm thinking about it, I think that it's kind of the other way around, like on some aspects, because the users who are less experienced, they're kind of the ones who actually need it the most, like to make sure what they're actually signing. And I'm not saying like we all do, but actually, in a way, when I'm starting to think about it, like the so-called simpler wallets are actually kind of a bit, in some ways, are more for the advanced users. And to be honest, also, when I think about it, at least for the most of us, we don't really need our wallets portable most of the time, at least these days. Like we don't usually, oh man, I left my hardware wallet at home, I can't buy groceries today. Like we don't actually use the hardware for these kinds of transactions these days. So you guys actually have like a pretty good playing ground to play with, in my opinion, with everything related to new users, mostly because of the fact that I think that you guys like claim to offer the maximum security standard available these days, at least.
Yeah, there's some interesting things. A couple of things you touched on in there. I think the default. So I think there's a million amazing solutions for Bitcoin hardware security. Ordinals and some other things complicates that a little bit today. But initially, Bitcoin hardware security was a largely solved problem. There's a million devices out there with Bitcoin-only firmware, and it's a simpler thing. But what people carried over and what new users did is they would buy a device like this, and they just felt secure because they had it, and they would just click to approve everything. That kind of negates the value of having a hardware wallet. So I don't think people knew best practices. Getting any hardware wallet is a positive step. It will help keep you safer. So I advocate buy anything, any brand, but have a hardware wallet. But yeah, so I'll talk a little bit about also the idea of like not necessarily needing to travel with everything. I think I got my first ledger around 2015, and it used to come with these. I think they still do. They come with like a lanyard, and it was funny because it was like a physical embodiment of like my involvement with crypto and how much I loved crypto. I would like wear it around my neck like a talisman, which is a stupid idea. Like I had it on me everywhere until I was on a long haul flight and I fell asleep, and I wake up and I just have the lanyard. So I'm like crawling around under all the seats under these old people looking for my ledger, explaining that like, oh, I dropped a USB thumb drive. Everyone's like, what the hell is wrong with this guy? But the thing on that is that you don't want to take your life savings around with you around your neck. I've seen some products out there like hats and other accessories that like show off that you're carrying your hardware wallet with you. Don't do that. You don't want to take like, all right, if we put it in like traditional financial terms, people, if you have a bank account, you have probably a checking account, a savings account, you've got a stock brokerage account. You don't need to cash out everything in your stock brokerage account to go to the grocery store. So I don't think it's a security best practice to have your private keys for cold storage with you at all times. So I think that's one of the things that shapes a little bit about how I think people want to use these devices and can best use them in the future. That's why I like the safeguards with a mobile device. Then you'll just be able to take the card you want, any card you have now with your Lattice, and just say, okay, this is the crypto and the NFTs I want to have at like a conference I'm going to, and maybe I'll sign for a few things. I'll buy something at a merch table. And that's what you should take with you. Do not take your life savings with you everywhere you go in your pocket. It might feel exciting at first when you're getting into crypto, but it's a terrible idea. It's not as pervasive as it could be, but we have seen, like recently in Sweden, there was a few attacks where people were identified through their tax records as being like big crypto holders, and they were put under physical duress to give up their keys. The best thing on that is, A, a little bit of obscurity, but B, if you're really concerned about being able to not put yourself in that situation, the best thing you can do is have it so not everything is immediately accessible to you at all times. Because I'm a big baby. If I'm getting tortured, yeah, hell yeah, you can have my private keys. You can have everything.
God forbid.
So there's like a tough guy thing in crypto. They're like, people want to show off their OPSEC and, how badass they are. But like, realistically, the stuff should be convenient so you can sleep well at night.
Yeah, and also like realistically, it should be designed for like everyday users and not for like, us on the crypto cult. To touch on the point that you've mentioned earlier about just how secure the hardware itself is, because for example, and I'm not sure like how many people know this, and maybe I don't know it that well myself, so maybe you can educate us. If someone has like, for example, God forbid, a wallet, a hardware wallet like a Ledger, a Trezor, or whatever stolen, and on the other hand, if he has a Lattice One stolen, how much more secure is the guy that had the Lattice One in that case? Like, is that myth in a way true? Like, can hackers or like burglars actually like take your physical hardware wallet and get access to your funds without having the seed phrase or without having the PIN code? Like, how penetratable are the other wallets, and how much better do you guys think that the Lattice One is?
So it's not a myth. Different hardware wallets all have what we call different threat models. Not all of them protect for physical security. Some do. Some are fairly explicit that that's not part of their threat model. But it's not a myth. You can actually see plenty of videos on YouTube of seed extraction. And if you are comfortable with some risky clicks, you want to look around the darker corners of the internet a little bit, you can look for key recovery services. So it's a little bit of a euphemism, but there are services that will charge you a percentage of the assets found for seed extraction with a good number of wallets that are on the market. So we took that into account. We used to poke the bear a little bit too much when we were designing the device initially. We said that the security standard we were aspiring to was if a 3-letter agency had a physical possession of your device, that you would have, hopefully you would be able to retain your security and they wouldn't get access to your seed. So we took that very seriously. That's why we have
that's a big standard, to be honest. That's a big standard.
Yeah, it was maybe a little too aggressive on that. There was actually something a couple of years ago where the IRS was like looking to hire someone for explicitly this, like getting into crypto wallets. And I was a little bit of a jackass on Twitter, and I basically did like a "come at me, bro" tweet. I don't know if I would do that today. Cool. You guys are showing the internals of the device. So yeah.
I wanted to show because I saw it yesterday on the website, and man, I was so impressed. Like, it's such a, I know I'm a guy. What can I say? I just like this. It's always cool to see like mechanic stuff and like how they're built on the layer. So maybe you can just because I'm pretty sure that what you're referring to now is related to how this is physically built, right?
Right. So, one of the points at the top there is the intrusion detection. So within the device, there's actually like 2 completely separate electrical environments, like 2 devices within the box itself. One is, we call it the general compute environment, And that's like, it's basically like a Linux system on module, just a chip running like Linux, like it's in your router. And that's what communicates with the outside world. So people usually, at first, they freak out if they've just learned about the Lattice. They're like, these jackasses made, a hardware wallet with Wi-Fi. This is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. But there's a reason for why we approached it this way. So we have that general compute environment, and we have the secure compute environment. And they don't electrically connect to themselves. Getting a little wonky on the engineering side, we have between them what's called a mailbox. It's a multiplexed, size-limited FRAM chip. And mailbox is a perfect metaphor. Only one side connects at a time, and the other side disconnects. So the purpose of that is the general compute environment. We don't have to worry about the security of it. What it does is just it passes in a signing request, disconnects. The secure environment connects, gets that signing request, generates the signature. But the general compute environment cannot draw the screen. That's drawn by the secure enclave. So that intrusion detection encases the entire secure enclave and the screen itself. You rip out the screen, you're going to trigger the anti-tamper mesh. And so that's another thing. You asked a little bit about the cost. That is part of why our cost of goods sold is a little bit higher. We have these meshes, and you can see them. They're almost like little gold traces on one of those cutaways. We build a custom mold for these in Switzerland. That's a good chunk of the cost. For the average user, technically, yeah, that's a little bit of overkill. But that's the level that we are aspiring to with our design, is like that degree of security assurance. So yeah, that's a key part of what we provide. We took physical security very seriously. Some hardware wallets do, not all do. And yeah, if you want to look for key recovery services, you can probably see some rates out there and some cool examples. We have done seed extraction on another wallet several years ago. It's not an easy process. It takes a great deal of technical sophistication. But you could also see things like Ledger Donjon, their security research team. They've got some great demos. There's some good examples out there, and it will kind of give you a sense of the different security attributes of each different device. That said, in security, there's no guarantees. Like nothing is ever really good enough. Everything will fall eventually. All we can do is aspire to the highest standard. So, and keep improving.
For sure. Looks like you're doing a pretty good job at it so far. By the way, you've mentioned earlier that this is built this way because, definitely not necessarily all of your customers are just like private folks. As we go along, I'm pretty sure that, especially as different entities enter the space and start exploring it more and more, they will for sure want to be as secured as possible, and they also bring the whole concept of public funds to various degrees. So I'm curious about what's going on that front, with big entities, institutions, or combining this kind of stuff with multi-sigs. How big is that part of your business over there at Grid Plus, or are you pretty much still mostly dealing with private customers?
So that's an area that we have not focused on. We get asked about quite a bit, is the enterprise side of things. There's a pretty clear fit there, but we're a small team and we're going to focus on pushing out features for our end users first and foremost for the time being. What we've talked to a lot of the big exchanges, we've talked to a lot of crypto hedge funds, talked about their key management. Exchanges won't really divulge anything. They ask us more questions than we can ask them. But that's a really important thing. What a lot of funds are doing are using custodial services. They're using Fireblocks and the other alternatives. And it makes sense. If you want a complete assurance and you want your traders to only be able to interact with a whitelisted set of contracts, okay, that makes sense in a certain context. I don't think that's a scalable solution for every user out there. It's always going to be a range of solutions, going from the example of a grandma with $100 of crypto on Coinbase to a major exchange. But yeah, that is something that we would like to be more of a part of. We've been asked for features explicitly for that. Like exchanges have asked us for an alternate firmware that meets certain criteria. For them, it's usually internal controls. They want kind of like logging, and they want badge and access with the safeguards, so that there's good internal controls for who can access which keys and sign in which circumstances. So the enterprise side of things is a pretty natural fit because we have an enterprise grade level of security, but it's not our principal focus right now.
What was you? Were you going to ask something?
I was going to ask something a little bit different, but if you wanted to ask something on a similar topic, then please.
No, go ahead. Go ahead. I also have some stuff on different topics.
Okay, so I think like some of the features that you mentioned, Justin, are like pretty incredible, and I think I probably should get my hands on a.
We should, man. We should.
So I would say I'm definitely a power user for sure of crypto, and I certainly
He
use
is, man.
Ethereum.
He really is. I'm not.
I use Ethereum and EVM chains a lot, but I also use non-EVM chains a fair amount, especially with, you could say, the recent rise of Solana. A lot of people are using things like that. The Cosmos ecosystem. Can I use this with the non-EVM chains as well?
So that's a great question. It's the number one thing our customers ask us for. It's also a
Really?
criteria from the exchanges. It needs to cover every asset. So we focused initially on what differentiated us. We don't have the best Bitcoin support out there yet. We're working to beef that up and do some good integrations. We really just focused on like being the absolute best for the EVM. But now there's a lot of other popular smart contract chains. So we have in the firmware, can't use it yet, but there's already Solana signing support. We are at the stage now where we're working on external integrations. We're talking to basically all the Solana wallets that exist, but we can't really time things around their release schedules. But yeah, we're pushing Solana in the very near term future. I would say within 1 to 2 months, you should be able to use a Solana wallet with this. Then after that, we're working with a Kepler team on Cosmos. And again, we've done most of the groundwork for this, but we've got to do the actual integration with them. So we'll be doing the Kepler integration in Q2, and we want to keep adding everything. We're going to circle back. We have plans now. So ordinals was touched on earlier. Before, we didn't focus on Bitcoin at all because it was kind of a solved problem. People weren't actively signing with Bitcoin. And it's really only like in the past 6 months, everyone's like, when are you going to like integrate with Xverse or like another, platform I use for ordinals? So we're coming back to that now. It was never our initial focus, but hey, people are actively signing with Bitcoin. I think it's a great thing. I think it's great for the chain security budget to get more fees. So we'll be working to support that. But yeah, we want to go broadly multi-chain. That's sort of the timeline. First is up to Solana. Then summer will be Cosmos. Better Bitcoin integration. Right now we have, just to be totally honest, we have just basic Bitcoin send and receive functionality. There's nothing advanced. So we're going to remedy that. And then we want to keep going with everything. I try every chain. I buy like $50, $100 of every like long tail asset. I install the wallet. I sign. I look at like DeFi Llama. Okay, what are the top couple of protocols that are used there? What's the DEX? What's staking look like on this chain? So yeah, I've done that with Solana. I use Solana. I don't know if this is the official term, all like the Solana killers, like the Sui, Sei, Aptos.
I've been using them a lot.
Yeah. And so, yeah, I'm using wallets for each of those. I'm using Kepler. I want to cover everything. I want it so that when I'm degenning on any chain, even with a trivial amount of money, I want it on my Lattice. Like, this is what I use. It's what the team uses. It's what we like best. So what's cool about having a really powerful and flexible device is that we're not entirely limited by the hardware. So for us, it's mainly about the firmware engineering. You don't need to wait for a new device to get these features. It just needs us to keep updating the firmware regularly and integrate with new partners. Going back to something that D-Advisor said at the beginning, did we want to have a software wallet? That's something we don't want to do. We're going to build up, and we're doing a re-release of the Lattice Manager, which is just our back end. Lets you do things like the address tagging. So we're going to do a revamped version of that that's maybe more analogous to Trezor Suite or Ledger Live, but on a much simpler level for starters. But we didn't want to get into the software wallet game. MetaMask, I don't even know their headcount now. It's 100, 150 people working on this around the clock Each of these teams have, just tremendous expertise in their area. So we don't want to compete against that. When, make an also ran software extension, we want to complement what they're building. Let them do what they're great at, and we're going to focus on what we do best. And then you add the two together and it works great. It's seamless with Rabby or Frame or Ambi or whatever you like using. That's what we want to do, be that plug-in security layer and not reinvent the wheel. We don't want, at this stage at least, we don't want full vertical integration. We don't want to compete with these other teams. We want to work with them.
I think that's a very smart choice, to be honest. And also, to be honest, like I think that the software wallet field is becoming extremely competitive. And if you guys are already good at what you do, and at least from the side, you have a very specific niche that you're leading it with the Lattice One and like the advanced wallets, like hardware wallets. I mean, I wouldn't hurry to change that for sure.
Yeah, you're going to see even. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Close that out real quick. Is that there are so many wallets out there. I love the competition. Next one, we have an integration with Rainbow will be coming shortly, and then nice. Tahoe next. That one's almost done as well. But there's a lot of competition, but there's going to be so many more because of account abstraction. There's so many teams working on account abstraction wallets with Ethereum, and that's going to change a lot of how we perceive what we do with our software wallets too. And I'm really excited about that.
Wow, look forward to that. I think account abstraction is going to be massive. So yeah, agree with you on that one. What I was going to touch upon was just on the previous point. So I guess the idea is we're not really going to be going down the software wallet route. But then in terms of like future products, you mentioned earlier, like there's going to be a new version of this device. Could you tell us a bit about that and how that's going to look? What's going to be the differences between the Lattice One at the moment? And also, what is it called?
Well, we don't have a name for it yet. We have internal names.
Lattice 2?
That no one. No, we're gonna have something cooler. Part of why we had the name Lattice originally too is that we wanted to be each device to be points in a decentralized hardware network. Right. We wanted actually one of the reasons for the desktop format initially is that we wanted to be a turnkey Ethereum staking device. We started on that path way too early in the spec. That's just not even remotely feasible with a device like this versus a high-powered computer. The next device, I don't want to say anything on timelines. We're targeting, something that should still be within the range of this bull run, looking optimistically. But hardware moves a lot slower than software. And what we're doing with the device, we want to go from the desktop power user format, take everything we've learned, take everything we've heard from customers. Best thing in the world are the customers who come in on Discord and crap at you about the features they want to see, because it really helps shape, what we do next. The cranky customers are probably the absolute best ones because they're actively using the product and know what they want to see. So we've taken all that and we want to go from this device. We're going to basically just build on it. It's not going to make the Lattice One obsolete. We're going to still maintain it, but we know that the number one thing people want is a mobile wallet. It's a format they're used to, and especially for people who trade on their phones. You shouldn't be using anything to trade on the go with meaningful amounts of money that doesn't have a screen on it. So we know we've spec'd out the bill of materials. We know what it's going to look like. There's still a lot of design decisions to be made, but basically it's going to be a very slim touchscreen, almost like a small phone or tablet with a card reader in the top and USB-C and a battery. We'll be upgrading a lot of other aspects of the device, but what we're trying to do here is also there's a lot of things that were really expensive. We spared no cost in the Lattice One itself, things like the anti-tamper mesh. There's new advances with physical security. We think we can do something even better at a cheaper price point. So we want this to become the end game wallet for anyone who uses a smart contract chain. It's a ways off. I don't think you'll be seeing that till probably holiday next year. That's what we're targeting. These are one of those things where hardware releases can shift back. So this, might be referenced in 2 years with people yelling at me, but what we're shooting for internally and the process is underway. And I'm really excited about it. And I want feedback from everybody. I mean, people should tell me, what is your dream wallet? What do you want to do differently? Sometimes it's not what we expect to. Like people I compare this like our engineers, if you compare the Lattice One or hardware wallet to a car, engineers are really focused on the engine, but sometimes users love like the comfort features. So with a car, it would be cup holders. For us, we know like people want to display their NFT collections on the screen or do things with a lock screen, like a price ticker. So some of those fun things will also hopefully be worked in. But yeah, we're still shaping it. We've got the initial spec finalized, and we're still doing user research. But yeah, I don't want to say too much. It could be a long process, but I'm really excited about it. I want to make the wallet I want to use today to sign for everything.
Does it necessarily, as a Grid Plus product, does it have to have its own screen? Isn't it, or do you think that customers will also want something that's maybe even much smaller, and you can just maybe like plug in your safeguard into it and then use the screen that the phone already has or the computer or whatever, like the way you like, because from the way you're telling it, I'm pretty sure you're envisioning something with a screen, and I'm kind of curious on how strict are you guys on that and why?
Okay, so there are getting your keys separated out from your general purpose device. It's already good. It's worth doing. There are things like Status makes the key card, which is like an NFC thing. You can just tap to your phone with their wallet to sign on the go. It is better than nothing, but it's not adequate. It's not good enough. Anything without a screen, I would not say is a serious solution for people that are using crypto a lot. I don't usually talk about anything with competitors. I will talk about one company that I'm just baffled by, which is Jack Dorsey's the BitKey. The one they're coming out, it's a Bitcoin only wallet, has no screen, and it has a mobile app. It's like, okay, that's better than nothing, having it separate from there. And they actually had a blog post about how screens are not that important. It doesn't cover all the attack vectors. Like, we talk to users every day. What people don't know when they start a wallet company, software or hardware, it's super stressful because people are depending on you to self-custody assets that mean a lot to them personally. You know, whether it's $1,000 for one person or 10 million for a whale, it is all personally meaningful to them. So we had a lot of conversations early on with people who are freaking out about stuff, and you stay up with them to like the middle of the night trying to help them with their private key recovery or something. So for me, that personal responsibility is serious. My name's attached to what we do. I work with customers directly, and I don't want to see anybody lose funds. So doing something that is half-assed actually makes me a little frustrated because, like, yeah, you can sell a lot of these things and it's better than nothing, but telling people that's a good enough solution is not ideal. The screen is critical. You need to see what you're signing. That's like so much of what you get with a hardware wallet is that signing security. So I think for any serious solution, you've got to have a screen. For smart contract chains, we want to display even more. The new screen will have higher pixel density, so you'll be able to have like better markdown, see more clearly about what you're signing. We can do a lot more to improve on what our offering is on that front as well to make things clearer. But I think the screen is absolutely essential. It's one of the first things everyone asks. They're like, can you make one without a screen? And I was like, they get the same rant. It's it's something that people don't quite understand because they get into the habit of YOLO signing. Okay, I just press the button on the hardware wallet and I approve. But they're leaving themselves exposed that way. And I want to at least get people in the habit of just checking a few key variables, the address, what am I doing? Am I transferring? And if so, how much? That can save your ass from an experience that, sometimes when people get wrecked, they leave crypto. It makes them bitter. Self-custody is a dangerous thing. And when you get started with crypto, it's so hard to get a toehold. You don't know who to listen to, what to read. So I want to be a part of making this easier for everyone out there. Because I remember what it was like. I talked a little bit about my experience. What do? You read online, you follow who Twitter suggests, and you probably get a lot of shitty information. And then you have to start using your own intuition about who to listen to, who to trust. Sometimes the biggest names on these platforms are not the people you should be listening to. So it's hard to get started. I want to make it easier for everybody. And that's a big part of what I love about my job and our company is that crypto's still the Wild West. There's not a day where you don't hear about a major hack, a rug pull, something terrible happening. I like being part of improving that, countering that, and making it better. So like everyone can have fun being a degen, but still sleep at night.
Such an important mission, to be honest, and not an easy one, that's for sure.
That's true.
I do want to ask you about the safeguards as well. Like, are you guys getting questions about what I mean is, like, I can definitely understand some of the advantages of the safeguards method, like so much more convenient, and you can use several devices, like you can use several accounts with just one Lattice One device, and it actually like it makes it cheaper in a way, because you just buy another safeguard instead of buying a wallet, and a safeguard is $40, I think, something like that, which is much cheaper.
Yeah, 40 for two, so it's like two hardware wallets for $40.
Yeah. So basically, it's I can get a lot of the advantages that it has. Actually, are you guys getting questioned about like maybe some possible disadvantages that this method has? For example, like I don't know. For example, if someone loses their backup, their safeguard or something like that, or if it's stolen. Doesn't it put the owner at some risk, which wouldn't have been possible on the more standard side of things? How do you guys address these kinds of questions?
So actually, I think people are much more secure. This is really critical. We've only recently started doing the encrypted copy of the seed phrase on there, but these chips, whether it's one device or many, they will, if you have 3 consecutive incorrect PIN entries, it's going to brick the card. Some people actually think that's too restrictive. We might tweak that a little bit as well. But I actually think this is a great backup solution, because most hardware wallets come with a sheet of paper that tells you to write down your whole seed phrase. It's not a good idea. You need to have your seed phrase backed up. Any critical account, you need to have multiple backup copies. But no matter what approach you use, you can lose them. At least with the safeguards, if someone finds them, they can't do anything with it. Everything's encrypted. These chips, the puff chips that we use, are the same ones in your credit and debit cards. They're battle tested. If these chips get defeated, the world's got much bigger problems than our backups. And so I think it's a much better solution. I think it's fine if people want to do plain text backups, but there's better ways of doing it. So whether it's paper or metal, metal protects against fires and floods, but you still have something that people can take a photo of, and you can lose all your money. So we're in crypto. We should be using encryption. I think this is a much better solution. No solution is perfect for everybody, but I'm really proud of the safeguards in particular. And the drawbacks for me, I think, are that what we're doing is really different, and we have to do a better job of communicating why. I think the average person, you look at a new product for a few seconds, and what do they see? They're like, okay, this is a weird, chunky desktop hardware wallet, and it's got cards. What the hell are the cards for? And it's not entirely intuitive to people because it's a different approach than what they're used to. But I think that difference, what we have to do is just educate people as to why we're doing these things and get the word out. Because when you try it, it makes a lot of sense when you start digging in.
For sure. But go ahead.
No, I was going to show so that little clip that came up, I had shared with you guys in the chat. I really like what this customer had done.
Go share it again 1 second.
Yeah, so he came into our Discord and he showed us how he did this cool backup. This guy had 14 hardware wallets, and what he did, he moved the seeds for each of them to safeguards, and then he's really intense. So he made 3 copies of each of these, and put them in different cases, and then put the cases in different locations. He also has, for his primary account, a split metal seed phrase plate. If you are going to use something plain text, you need to divide the pieces and have multiple redundant copies, which is tedious, but that's the way to do it. But this shows kind of, the cost effectiveness and the power of the Lattice One, because he has everything on one device now. And when it comes to the things we worry about with backups, first and foremost is losing access yourself through a mistake, through loss of something physical. Then there are the other things that people worry about. Are you storing it online? As people who have done this in password managers or Evernote, GitHub, you don't want to ever put a plain text seed phrase or your private keys in cloud storage like that. It's not great. But there isn't an easy, intuitive solution for most people. We're used to writing it down on paper. It puts people at risk. So I think we can keep emphasizing this approach and how it's better. But yeah, it is, I think, something that we as an industry can do better with overall. I touched on account abstraction earlier. That's going to do some cool things for key recovery as well. So account abstraction wallets are going to enable all kinds of things. There's still going to be a hot wallet, but a much better hot wallet that lets you set all kinds of parameters to help keep yourself safe. But a cool thing with social recovery, I didn't like the idea at first because I think like, all right, social recovery, I have a chat app and I reach out to 3 or 5 friends. What's going to make that great for key recovery is that the guardians with account abstraction on Ethereum, they can be anything. They can be a hardware wallet. They can be your Coinbase account, so that you can have all these things backed up in a way that you have even assurances beyond good backup practices today that you can recover it even if you lose one piece of, one of these guardians. If you lose access, you'll find a way to get your keys back. We're still going to have to see how all of this stuff is done at a UI level with wallets. There's a lot of unanswered questions, but it's like a cool new design space. So backups will be getting better. But I think this is really something I'm proud of. Like it is the solution I'm most comfortable using. Oh yeah. And the other attack vectors, other than losing it or theft, why do people use metal? Well, they're worried about, fires, floods, earthquakes, and really, this is not a joke, Carrington events come up on our Discord, which is like solar flares erasing electronic devices, or like EMP bombs. People really overthink this stuff a little bit. Best thing you can do if you're worried about fires or floods, put an encrypted copy in a different safe location or in a fireproof box. You'll get those properties. And weirdly, I had to research solar flares and EMP blasts to make these people comfortable. What you want to do with that, unplug your microwave and put your cell phone and your hardware wallet inside there to shield it. We've thought about every weird angle. People in crypto are amazing. They come up with things we never even thought about all the time. So I think this is the best route to go.
Find that quite funny, actually.
Yeah. This is the last thing I expected to have to talk about with people when we started.
So, do you have any data on like how many users do you have today, and like how's that grown over time?
We don't actually publish our numbers externally. I can say I'm pretty sure we are the third biggest hardware wallet manufacturer, but compared to Ledger's huge sales records, we're still niche. I think with the next device is where we go really mass market. But yeah, I would say in terms of the sales milestones I've seen, you can kind of deduce the range by looking at us as the number 3 after Trezor and Ledger.
Fine, fair enough. And how can users like buy one at the moment? Is the only way via the website?
It's only via gridplus.io. That is the spot to get them directly from us. We ship globally, except for, of course, like OFAC sanctioned countries. We can't ship to mainland China and Russia. Other than that, we ship all around the world. We have to come up with better solutions for our logistics. We use a third-party partner. So yeah, it can be tricky internationally with some higher costs, but we do periodically run sales that will offset that for people who are in distant locations.
And can we pay with crypto?
Absolutely. Yeah, we've always accepted crypto, and in bull runs, I think that's all people pay us with, because they were like, oh, it's only 0.01 ETH. This is like free. At checkout, you can use basically any crypto via Coinbase Commerce. You can pay in Bitcoin, Ethereum, stables, I think Solana, ApeCoin. Yeah, we take it all. So
that's awesome.
Justin, you know what I'm now thinking? It's not really related, but actually I'm starting to think about it, and I'm pretty sure that it's in no way doable or relevant, but I'm still going to say it anyway. When I look at a safeguard, I'm thinking to myself, man, can't someone also make this into like a debit card? And then like when I just have my safeguard on me, like, okay, if I need to do like a transaction or whatever, I get to the house and I use my Lattice One. But if I'm just out of the house and I need to buy something, imagine if I can also like put like a little debit in the side and say that, okay, take this 200 I don't know, frax tokens or USDC or whatever, and use them as a credit and automatically use it as I go. I think that like I, for example, would want that for sure, you know what I mean? But I'm sure that it's much more complicated than the way I envision it.
No, you're on the right track, and it's actually something we wanted to do. So when we first launched, we were excited about all the real world use cases for crypto that a better hardware wallet with different connectivity could enable. The thing is, we got too ambitious with that early on, and we narrowed scope to what we're really best at, which is the hardware security. But that was point of sale was actually one of the things we would have liked to have worked with a partner on initially, and could maybe still consider. Because with the card reader and the anti-tamper mesh, we have something called PCI compliance. That's the actual, we meet the specs for a card reader in a commercial setting. So it's tamper resistant, and it can read, theoretically, if we had different firmware working with a partner, it could read credit and debit cards as well. The hardware is capable of it. So we wanted to do this. We actually used to have like a Grid Plus merchant subsite, and it complicated the message too much. It's something we could theoretically explore in the future. But yeah, you could have a hybrid crypto and traditional payment terminal pretty easily with our hardware if some partner wanted to dig in on it. But outside the scope of our business model, because we just want to focus on doing one thing well before we get too involved in side quests.
Yeah. I definitely agree. And by the way, I was just referring to the safeguards themselves to be able to use as like a crypto debit card, because I don't know. I'm just again, it's all my imagination. This is completely out of. But for example, if like, imagine you could take a Genosis pay card and like use it as a safe card. You know what I mean? If these were the same like thing, I really think that crypto consumers would want that a lot. Like I know that for sure that me as really a very basic user, one of the things that I want the most in the industry is like to have like a normal debit card that I can use, that I can trust, that I can know that you know what, even if I don't load it up with that much money, just to be sure that there's a small amount that I can always like use without having to worry about what's going on with my normal bank account or stuff like that.
It's technically possible, but the problem is the existing credit card networks. So to do something that varies from those standards at all isn't an easy lift. I'm not even sure how feasible it is. So that's why we have solutions like you mentioned, like Gnosis Pay and some other competitors. You have to have something for that actual conversion process to use the traditional credit card payment rails. But yeah, we're definitely thinking about all those things. There's if we can come up with the right ideas, we're willing to explore anything on that front, because as I cited at the beginning, I often tell people when they're thinking about how to set up their crypto accounts and account segregation, to think of the things that they're used to with traditional finance and their bank accounts as a good jumping off point. So getting there with a card is an intuitive thing for like a mass market. So something to consider, but not imminent. It's a cool idea.
Also, thanks. Also curious, but again, a good idea, but completely non-practical, like most of them, like most of my ideas. I mean, I'm also curious about what you guys do regarding, I don't know, education, marketing, like as a business, as a Grid Plus. Like for sure, it seems, and again, I'm not that even that much of a tech savvy, but it for sure seems that you've got the technology side of things well covered, and you definitely, I don't know, I'm not just saying it but by what I'm looking at, by the way. I'm talking to people, and I know that a lot of people that I respect actually use the Grid, the Lattice One wallet, and just like we've described, most of them are for sure power users. And to be honest, I'm not I've never heard anything negative about it, and that's much to your respect. But other than that, than the technical side, I'm very curious about how do you guys try to, I don't know, bring more awareness to your product or to security in general within the crypto space? How do you guys market it? How do you engage with the community? Because it's much simpler when you have a DeFi protocol, you know what I mean? And you can, I don't know, put up different farms and liquidity mining programs, or I don't know, different kind of NFTs and contests and whatever. So how do you approach this angle of your business?
So actually, I think this is one of the biggest deficiencies of our organization that we're working really hard to address now. We've always been kind of like an engineering-led endeavor. We're like, holy shit, this is cool. This is the way I want to use a crypto wallet. But I still meet people that I think would be like the exact match for our ideal user, and they haven't heard of us. So we're working more in getting the word out. We are only now really ramping up like a formal marketing team. And we're going to be working on that, getting the word out quite a bit more this year. The education side is important. What did help us get traction originally was, as a smaller company, we have the opportunity to really talk to users more directly. And I think when, I mentioned staying up late with people to help them solve a problem, even if it's not related to our hardware, those things have helped build a word of mouth network. I think it mainly goes with kind of, crypto insiders, but people who sing our praises online. That is, those direct personal recommendations have helped drive our business so far, but we still haven't got the word out well enough on awareness. So we'll be doing some campaigns with Bankless, with Defiant, and others, and trying to work to get the word out more. We kind of did our own homespun marketing before, and that was not a great choice. Marketing is just as important as engineering with a company. There's a lot of engineering teams that came up with something brilliant and thought the world would knock their door down when they finished with it. But in reality, you've got to meet the people where they are and understand your customer and talk to them. There's a question from
I'm sorry,
Pfizer.
I got you distracted. On the chat.
That's cool.
Because I want to make sure. When we try to schedule the talk for the first time, and it's the first time that we're honored to have you on the Leviathan show in general, and for me personally to talk to you, one of the things you guys have generously mentioned is that you can do like a specific kind of like a POAP or something like that, and to actually have one lucky viewer to be getting its own new Lattice One. So I was actually... I immediately thought that this was such a cool, first of all, it's such a cool and relevant gift to exactly the kind of people that are watching, hopefully our shows, or the one person that watches our show, maybe he can get it. But
I think, we really like doing stuff like that. I think since this is pre-recorded, we'll coordinate on the details, but what we're going to do for this is when it goes live, we should have a time-limited POAP claim. People can get the claim link, claim it for a couple of days. And then when we've done this before, we use a site called poap.fun. So anyone who has the POAP, they can sign and get entered into a raffle. And we'll give them a Lattice One bundle with extra safeguards. We'd love to do that. And anything that gets people signing and actively using stuff is right up our alley. It's great. Yeah, we'd love to do that. So I guess when this is edited, we'll have all the details in the descriptions for the users.
For sure. I really think the audience would love that. It will be the first time that we are doing it. We will be doing it on Send It, and I don't know, taking advantage of the opportunity and like using this opportunity to actually also us to be able to engage in this kind of a way with the audience and allow them another benefit outside of all that knowledge you've been putting out here with us. So that's actually very generous of you, and I think it's very cool, and I'm pretty sure that the audience will love it as well, and we will for sure add some details. Justin, what's your message to whoever's watching the show and is thinking about getting himself a Lattice One? Why should they do it? Go ahead, go for it.
I would say the most important thing is crypto is a lot more fun when you can sleep at night knowing that you're not going to get wrecked. So don't wait for something bad to happen to start considering your security. The other most important thing, it's not something you buy. It's being comfortable asking questions, talking to people in your network, and looking out for yourself. You don't have to be doing something really wrong to make a big mistake that will cost you. In particular, a recent example was Vitalik Buterin had his phone ported and his Twitter account taken over, and it had a malicious NFT link. And you know what? Some of the smartest big brain protocol devs in the world, they hit the malicious link. So everybody's impacted. Crypto is tricky. Don't try and be a cowboy. Talk to people, double check things, and look out for yourself. There's resources out there. Come talk to us. We don't have to sell you anything just to help you with your security. We're always happy to answer questions. But yeah, that's the key. Think about it. Think about protecting your personal information, and get proactive about it, because crypto is a lot more fun with a safety net.
Such good points. And also with the community, to be honest. And I was on you guys' Discord a bit. I saw how you answer so many questions, man. And I really think that what you've just mentioned about the fact that people should just be able to feel comfortable enough to come over and ask and express themselves and not be shy, and it's okay to not know, and you'll be kind of surprised of the fact that either you'll get an amazing response very rapidly, or that people are just going to tell you, man, you're right, that's a good point, we don't know, and maybe we can open some kind of a solution to it. So a dialogue is extremely important. And where should people go and connect with you guys, Justin?
They should go to gridplus.io. You'll find the links there for product, the knowledge base, but also for our Discord. It's a great way of interacting with us. We all have terrible sleep schedules, so no matter where you are in the world, we'll try and get back to you pretty quickly. And yeah, find us they also have our social links. We'll do our best to respond on Twitter, but Discord's the best place to reach us. And yeah, come and talk to us, ask questions, tell us what we're doing wrong. We're all ears. So
much respect. Thank you so much for your time. Waj, anything that you want to add, man?
I just wanted to say thank you so much, Justin. I learned a lot today. I'm sure the viewers have learned just as much as well. We'll leave a link to people who want to buy one of these devices in the description below, and we'll try and share it out on Twitter as well. Just wanted to say thank you very much, and really enjoyed this one.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. It was a fun conversation. I could talk your ear off all day. This was great.
I think so.
Bye, guys. Waj, thanks a lot. Justin. Bye, folks.